Yeah, you hear me? You can still hear me? Are we good?
Yeah, we're good. Go ahead.
Yes.
You're good.
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so now we have a very interesting daf tonight. Not a long daf, but the first part is a little bit difficult. And then, and then, hold on one second. Hold on one second. Then it's gonna be ready at 9:22. 9:22. Okay. So we said with the Mishnah. We said the Mishnah. We said the Mishnah that we had this vague Mishnah. I'll just read the Mishnah again just to make sure. The Eved so Rabbi Apaitiki. So if the Eved, his Rabbi made him into a Apaitiki, meaning a Apaitiki is like a specific type of mashkan to pay back. It's not really a mashkan. It says if the loan, if I don't pay you back, you're going to get paid from this guy. All right. So Eved so Rabbi Apaitiki. If his master made him to a Apaitiki, meaning the Eved is the guy that's going to be paid back. L'acheirim, the shichuru, and then what the guy freed him. So now that's question number one: who freed who? Right? Shuras adin ain't Eved chayiv klum. According to the regular din, the Eved is not chayiv anything. Elam ne tikkun ha'olam, but because of tikkun ha'olam, koifin es rabbi, then we force the rabbi v'oisen oisei ben chayrin, then we make him into a ben chayrin. Because of star al damav, you write a star on his word. If Shimon Gamliel Omer ain't a cause of Ela Meshachra, you don't write it. The only one that writes it is the Meshachra. So basically, what we have here is a case where the Eved was made into an Apoitki, so he was going to be paid back, right? And then the guy frees the slaves, and then so the Eved is not chayiv to pay anything, but because of Tikkun Olam, they force him. Yeah. So that's basically the Mishnah. The Gemara, so it's very vague. So the Gemara is going to discuss whether it's who's the one that freed and who's the one that didn't free and who's the one that has to pay, etc. So let's see. So Eved Shaso Rabbi Apaitiki v'Shicharu. The Gemara says Mi Shicharu. Who freed who? So Amar Rav. So Rav said Rabbi Rishon, the first guy, the first master, is the one who freed him. Right? Shuras adin ain't ever chayiv klum l'Rabbi Sheni, so he's not chayiv klum, right? Meaning, who freed him? The first one is the first master freed him. So what does he have to do with the second guy? Yeah, Kedarava, Damar Rava, Hektish chametz v'shichr mafkiyan midei shibud. Somebody is makdish chametz, right? And that, or he frees his slave, then that takes away the shibud, right? I'm sorry, then I hektish chametz. Hektish chametz v'shichr mafkiyan midei shibud. Meaning, if somebody says his chametz is going to be used to pay back a loan, or he said his Eved is going to be made to pay back his loan, or hektish, so then that takes out the shibud and is no longer meshubud. But the same thing here, since the first guy who owned the slave said he's going to use the slave to pay him back, I say he's going to use the slave to.
Did I lose you?
No, he's muted. He doesn't realize.
Oh, he's muted. Okay.
Rabbi, we can't hear you.
Went to the wrong restaurant. Can you hear me now? No.
Yeah, it's Yaakov, we hear you.
Yes.
I need somebody to answer me. Okay, thank you.
I know. I know. I had to unmute.
Everybody was muted, except for me. I'm muted.
Okay. I hope I don't lose it again. We're driving around Muncie now, taking a tour. I have no idea what my kids are doing here. Anyway, so Kaifin is Rabbi Sheni v'Oisais ben Chayrin. You force the second master, and he has to make him into ben Chayrin again, because the second guy who lent the money lost out, right? Because he lent somebody money. The guy said, "Here's the slave for you," and then he went and freed the slave. So now the guy is left in the dark. He doesn't have, or in the cold. He doesn't have anybody to pay him back. So v'koisev eved shtar al dor. So now, since the eved gained from this whole thing because he went free, so therefore he has to write a shtar for his money, and meaning for whatever he's worth. Right? He doesn't write it. The one who freed him has to write it. He's the one. Meaning, why should the eved have to pay? Let the first guy who freed him, let him pay. So that's a machlok, because according to Rav, that's a machlok we did the Tanakama and Rav Shimon Gamliel. But my kamifli, what's a machlok? But mazik shibuda shechaver kamifli. We're talking about whether if somebody's mazik the shibud of his friend, is that called damage? Which I can't necessarily understand what this means exactly. Right? But basically, if you are mishabit something to somebody and then he loses it or you damage it, then it's a problem. Can I be heard now?
Yes. Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
Loud and clear. 5 by 5.
Okay, good. Okay, I'm sorry.
It's Yaakov, why do we have to go to Mazik? You still owe him money. If you
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Why do you have to
I
go
don't
to
understand.
Mazik?
Akiva, that's exactly what I don't understand.
Okay.
No, I didn't say it. I didn't say it yet. I don't understand. Go. I don't understand why he's not responsible for something. Doesn't he owe him money? And even if you do damage to somebody's shibud, so don't you have to pay him back? You're making somebody into a loss. Okay, so I don't understand. But whatever it is, the machlek is
Well, Tais is actually
if you're
about
mazik something. I don't know if that's meaning Tais is just saying it has to be from that specific thing.
He sort of Michael the rest of his nechasim. So in such a case, he has no other avenue to get the money back.
Okay, maybe. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know. So anyway, so that's what I'm saying. So the master potter, one says potter. If somebody is mazik, something that's meshubah to his friend, say the machlokes of Shimon, ben Gamliel and Rabbanan. But okay, that's Rav's first pshat. Say that's the first pshat. That's according to Rav. Ula says, "Mi sheyichru." Right? Who is the one that freed the slave? Rabbi Sheni. He's the second guy. Right? So Mamela, meaning the second guy is the guy who was the lender. So Shuras Hadin, Eina Evet Chayev Klum b'mitzvahs. The Shuras Hadin is that the Evet is not chayev to do mitzvahs. Meaning, why? Who freed him? The second guy, the lender. The lender at iCloud.com sent 2 images to the. Like you're a fool. The lender is not. He's not his boss. The lender's not his boss, right? The first guy was his boss. He was never meshubah to the lender. He was being used as a way to pay back the loan, right? So why should he have to do mitzvahs? Meaning he's not free. The second guy freed him, but he's really not free. The second guy had to free him, but he has nothing to do with him. But because of tikkun olam, shame ben chayrin, because he has a shame that he's free, even though really he's not free. So Kaifin is Rabbi Rishon, ba'isais ben chayrin, we force his first master to make him into a ben chayrin because of shtar al damav, and then the slave has to write a shtar on his money. And Rav Shimon Gamliel, he doesn't write it. The guy that freed him, who is the lender, is the one that has to write the shtar because he caused because he caused the one that owes him the money to
You mean the borrower?
to free the slave. What the borrower has to the lender. The lender has to write the shtar because he's the one that caused the borrower to have to free his slave. That's the way Ula says it. That's the way Ula says the pshat.
But isn't the borrower?
So what's the machlok? You go ahead.
Isn't the borrower? Isn't he freeing the eved just so he shouldn't have to pay back? Just to
that was Rav's. That was who was it? Rav. Who was Rav was Rav's pshat. Ula saying different pshat.
Okay, thank you.
That was according to Rav who said the first.
Rashi does run that. Rashi says that what you're writing the shtar for is the rest that is still that's above what was owed to you.
It's the rest, so, right? It's not.
Right. So that's correct. The answer. The answer is that you're writing for the rest.
Yeah, he doesn't have to give him the full price. He does not have to give him the full price, but he does have to do it for the rest. Correct. That's true. Yes, I should have pointed that out. Yeah. Fine. So, yes, I understand. That's a machlokes Ula and Rav. So, my komifligi. First, meaning what's the machlokes in Rav Shimon Gamliel and the Tanakama according to Ula? The hezek shein and nikkur komifligi. So, one of the more confusing dinim and hilchos nezikin, right, was by a hezek that's not recognizable. Do you have damage? Do you have to pay for damage that's not recognizable? Marsav Shmei hezek. One says that it is called hezek. If you do a damage that's not recognizable, which we're going to see later on in the Masechta, is talking about like if you make something tameh, so that's not a recognizable damage, right? So if you make something that belongs to a kohen tameh, then it's a problem, right? Umar Savar Loishmei hezek, and the other one holds that it's not damage. Fine. So that's what the machlokes is. Ula, my time, Karav. Why doesn't Ula say like Rav? So here you have like a very, it's not technical, but we have like very simple taich of why they don't say like each other. So Ula, my time, why doesn't Ula say like Rav? Amalach, Shnei, Shani, Rabbi Karasai, are you calling the second guy his master? Meaning it says that his master freed him. So according to you, you're saying that the master is the second guy. The second guy is not his master. The second guy was just the guy that lent money. Right? The Rav, so that's why he says the taich would be off. The Rav, my time Ula, and why does Rav not say like Ula? Amarlach Shani Meshachar Karasle. Right? Are you calling the second guy the guy that freed him? Right? Like Yoni said, only the guy that freed him was the borrower, not the second guy. So how do you call him the guy that freed him? Fine. So that's why they don't say like each other. Itmar. So we said, let's say a guy makes his field as an apaitiki, meaning he says that I'm going to give you this field for I'm going to give you this field for the loan. The Shotfa Nahar, and now a river came and washed away the field. So Ami Shapir Noah, that's a very, very, very interesting name. Ami, who was a fine-looking fellow, right? Maybe Ami Lach should call this for his suit store, right? Ami Shapir Noah, right? So Ami, who's looks good, said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Ein a goiva mishar nechasim. He can't go collect from other belongings. And he says he could collect. Now you hear what this is saying? Basically, if the guy makes his field into an apaitiki, right? Which means he said this field is going to be yours to be paid back. And then something went wrong with that field. So we have a machlokes whether he's on the hook for anything. Because we're saying, the first sheet that's saying that he's not on the hook is saying, very simply, he's saying, I gave you this field. If this field got destroyed, that's your bad luck. That has nothing to do with me. Right? And the second shot says, no, you still owe the guy money. Just because he's a nice looking fellow he said a not nice thing. And he disagreed with him. The reason why that is because he only paid it from this specific field. That's why he's saying that din. Meaning he told him, you're only getting this field. So basically, there's two different types of apaitikis. There's really three types. So the Gemara here is discussing two types. There's two types of apaitikis. There's one where he just says, I'm giving this field to you, but it's lav dafka. I mean, I can give you other fields too. And then there's one that says, no, you're getting this field specifically.
But Yaakov, what's the din on the Paris during that time?
What's the din on the Paris during that time? I mean, who gets the Paris?
Yeah, I'm saying it's mamish yours. If it's so miyuchat to you that you basically you're taking on all the responsibility, like all the achrayis of it. Should you also be able to keep the Paris at that point if you have the achrayis?
Right. So it's probably going to be dependent on what the deal was. No, sometimes we've come across. Sometimes there are deals where the guy can eat the payers, and that's going to pay yourself back. Right, and other times you said differently. Right, I don't remember when here. I don't know if that's going to play in to the same thing here. Fine, okay. So Tanya Nami Hachi. Right, so we learned in the Brisa. So there you are, if a guy makes his field into an apaitiki to somebody else for shatvan or a river overflows, he collects from others. And if he says to him, and if he tells him this should not be paid only for you, he does not collect from other nechasim. So you see that it depends on if he made him a specific field as an apaitiki. We have a different price. Let's say he makes his field into an apaitiki for a Baal Chayv and a Ksubas Isha. Right? So Goyim Mishar Nechasim, you can collect from other things, meaning you're not required to only collect from that field. A Baal Chayv can go to other Nechasim, to other belongings that belong to the lender. Isha ain't a gavim mishar nechasa, but a woman does not collect from other belongings. She ain't darka shel isha lachzor al batei dinin, because it's not the derech for a woman to go looking at other to go running after bezdin. Meaning a woman's supposed to stay home, so you're not going to go force her to go running around and find a different apaitiki. Right? Meaning a different way of paying back her loan. If the guy gave her this thing as an apaitiki, so then that's what she should be getting. Yeah, I don't know if that din would change nowadays or not. Meaning now that women are more in the public. Okay, so that's the hard part of the daf. Now this next part is, if anybody ever learned Minchas Chinuch, right? So Minchas Chinuch is very busy with Chatzi Eved, Chatzi Ben Chorin. By pretty much, not of all mitzvahs, but many mitzvahs, he says, okay, how you be Makayim with Chatzi Eved, Chatzi Ben Chorin? Yeah. So the basic Mishnah starts from here. So Misha Chetzi Eved Chetzi B'Chorin. Let's say an Eved is half free and half an Eved, and half a slave and half free. Meaning, what happened? The basic case is, and we've had this before. The basic case is if he had two bosses, meaning two guys owned an Eved. One guy freed him and one guy didn't. So now he has free and half. So I describe this was 7 week, 1 day Sabbath. He doesn't have to work. The other days, 1 day.
So Yaakov, you're not coming through.
1 day or another.
The last minute was choppy. I couldn't hear you.
Well,
You're not coming through clear.
all right. Hold on. All right, hold on. I'll wait for a minute.
Now you're clear.
I really wonder where he is driving over there in Muncie. Which place is he doing it to?
Are we any better now?
Yeah, what are you by 30? You're at 306 by the cemetery?
I don't know where I am. I have no idea where I'm being driven. So,
It took
I mean,
took
can
your
you hear me
breath
now?
away. You're out again.
Yeah. Much better.
Okay, fine. I apologize. I thought I'd be on the highway and it would be good, but no. But anyways, okay. So anyways, basically we have where you have two people own a slave, and one of them frees him. So now he's half baked. Basically, he's an eved and he's free. So so one day he works for his master, and one day he works for himself, right? And what's with the seventh day? Seventh day is Shabbos, so he doesn't have to work. Yeah. So Divrei Beis Hillel, that's what Beis Hillel says. Beishamai, Tekantim is Rabbi, it's Atzmai like Tekantim. You fixed it for his master because his master gets to use him, right? But what about himself? What are you doing for himself? Right? Lisa Shivcha, he can't marry a Shivcha because half of him is free. Shekvar Chatzi ben Chayrin, because half is already free on Tamid Beis. Bas Chayrin, if he to marry a single girl, a free girl, Shekvar Chatzi Evan, because he's half Evan. So basically, Beis Shammai is saying to Beis Hillel, you fixed everything financially because 3 days a week he gets his own, he works for himself, and 3 days a week he works for the other one, right? But what about his own personal life? Yivatel, okay, so maybe he'll be batel. Right? This is a major sugi right here. So okay, let him not get married. The world was only created for pru revu. Shenemar leisayu barol l'sheves yitzara. The world was not created to be empty, right? It was created to be l'sheves, to be dwelled in. Ela mepnei tikkun ha'olam. So because of tikkun ha'olam, koifin es rabbi v'ois ben chayrin, we force his master, like we learned in yesterday's daf, we force his master to free him, to make him ben chayrin, because of shtar al chetzi domav, and he writes a shtar on half his money. And Beis Hillel liked Beis Shammai's psak so much that they changed their mind, right? And they did it like him.
Perry Zeridi is an example, or it's Lamaisa. What's the issue here?
There's a few issues here. There's a few issues. The first issue is, why is the Gemara bringing the pasuk of in Nach of Leisayu Vara? It should say Pru Revu Maluas Haaretz.
He has no chiyuv Pru Revu. He's like a Isha.
What?
He doesn't have a chiyuv Pru Revu. He's like an Isha.
Yeah, so then what's the problem?
So what do you mean he's going to be Mavatal Peri Berivia?
Right. So, but Elamai, whatever the problem is, if they're saying it's Mavatal Peri Berivia, right? But
there's no
chiyuv. So the Gemara. The Mishnah saying he has. So if he has a chiyuv, but say that the chiyuv is from Pru Revu, you're right. You have a good kasha, Zev. You shouldn't be chayiv in Pru Revu. Woman's not chayiv in Pru Revu, right? So, but if you're going to say
maybe it's we don't know which half of him was freed. We don't know which half of him was freed. So why do we assume the half of him was like an Isha? Assume the half of him that was makes him like a Gaver is freed.
You're saying that you can because of his other half?
Yeah.
The whole
his better
din
half.
The whole din of him is an Isha.
Not half his body.
Chatzi Eved, Chatzi Ben Chayrin. Kolzman, he's not fully free. He has a din like an Isha.
He's got 3/4.
No, but
quarters.
Half of him, Zev, half of him is not.
It's like being half pregnant. It's not.
No, who said that? It's not true.
No, Zev, I think you're mistaken.
It's half of him has the mitzvah, half of him does not have the mitzvah. Right? That's the problem.
Is he mechoyev to put on tefillin?
Half of him is mechoyev, yes.
Every other day.
3 days a week he puts on a tefillin.
That's going to be tomorrow's daf, Bezos Hashem. Tomorrow's daf is going to discuss like that. What does he do?
Is he mechoyev to put on tefillin? Yes or no? Yes or
That's
no?
going to be tomorrow's daf, Bez Hashem. Tomorrow's
Okay,
daf.
so-
Pashtus
okay.
is the days that if you go with Beis Hillel's first shop before he changed his mind to go like Beis Shammai, on the days he works for himself, he's mechuyev to put on tefillin. On the days that he works for the other guy, then he's not mechuyev to put on tefillin. By the way, Agav, when you say that, is this what do you say?
We said that last night already, no?
I don't know if we discussed it last night, but it comes out that there are some poskim that say that if somebody goes to work on Chol HaMoed, he should put on tefillin. Right? Because if you're already working on Chol HaMoed, then clearly it's not a Yom Tov. Then clearly it's not a Yom Tov.
We went over
I don't think that's accepted psak. Yeah, I don't think this is accepted psak. But anyways, that's
practically speaking, how is he ever mishacher his Isser Shabbat? I understand how he's mishacher the Mamonis. Didn't we say before that the idea that you could yarshin, you could only yarshin the Mamonis of an Eved, you can't yarshin the Isser of the Eved. So how are you mishacher a half of the Isser? Do they both write star shichros?
Well, so that's also going to be tomorrow's daf. We're going to see tomorrow. Well, actually, it's going to be today. Today's daf. It's going to be.
The only person I understand is Shmuel. Shmuel holds that if you don't have bios over him, then the Isser goes away. But if you hold that it requires a star in order to be mishacher him, and you can't just yarshin. It doesn't come inside.
Right. So we have to see the rest of the Gemara on today. We have to see the rest of the Gemara. But anyway, so that's one kasha. That's a major kasha. Is why doesn't it bring the pasuk of Prudavu? Okay, so that's one thing that Taisus discusses. And the second big issue that Taisus does not discuss, right, is why don't we say Einus Rahmana Patre? He's an Einus. We're saying the guy, he's an Einus. He's a half Eved. Whatever situation Hashem put him into, right? He's potter from getting married because he can't get married. What should we do? Because of that, you're mechuyev to make the other guy lose out his money, lose out his eved for 3 days a week. The guy's he's not chayev, he's a einus, right? Einus Rahmana Patre. So the Pais can discuss that, like exactly what's going on, right? So some say that no, this is such a big mitzvah, we're not going to say Einus Rahmana Patre. That's one pshat, and then there's other pshatim. But anyways. So that's that, but that's the basic here. But it's the next few blot we're going to be discussing this all the sugis have been chatzi ev and chatzi ben chayr. Yeah. So zog the Gemara. Hamashacher chatzi ave. Let's say a guy frees half of his eved. Right? He frees half his eved, meaning he himself. Till now, we're talking about two owners, one freeing him, one not. Right? So if he does, one guy just frees half his slave, meaning he wants to keep half for himself and he wants to give him half. So does that work? Rebbe says the Eved is kind himself. He's not kind. Amar Rabba, so Rabba says machlaikis b'shtar. That whole machlaikis is like what Akiva was saying, was where the way he frees him is by giving him a shtar. The Rebbe savar v'hefta leiniftasa eichufasa leinasala. So this is talking about. This is talking about where the slave, you have an Eved Ivri married to an Eved Kanani, right? And then what was the case there again? Right? Yeah, so I said a guy's mizana with her. That's a guy's mizana with her. So the question is, was she half? So we say that it was talking about where she was a chatzi eved, chatzi ben chayr, right? Because the pasuk has a very interesting way. How do you teach it? V'hefta loy niftasa. She was not redeemed, oichu pasa, or loy nasala, or was her freedom wasn't given to her. Yeah. So what does this mean? Makish shtar lekesef. So we're going to make a hekesh, a comparison between the shtar and pekesef. Ma kesef ben puloy ben chatzi, just like kesef, you can free somebody with kesef whether you're freeing the whole thing or half. Afshtar nami bein kuloi bein chatzi, but a shtar also is whether he did the whole thing or he whether did half. But Rabbanon community law meisha, the Rabbanon say no. You learn out law meisha ma isha chatzi law. Just like you can't divorce half a woman, Af Eved Nami Chetzilois. So to an Eved, you also can't do half. Right? Ava Bekesef, Divrei Akol Kana. But with Kesef, if he freed the Eved with Kesef, then everybody holds his Kaina. Because Peduya Ve'ena Peduya. Because the Pasuk talks about somebody who was redeemed and was not redeemed. So that's what we're going to say, that redeemed and not redeemed is talking about this type of situation. Right? So again, so we have here, we have a machlokes over whether a guy is frees half of his slave, if that works or not. So Lema Bakovich.
But see, isn't the whole reason why you can't be megarish a woman halfway because you have to have krisos? You can't have chatzi krisos. But at Eved is clearly you could have
reason. That. Yeah. So what are you saying? So here you could.
Lamais and Eved could. So why? Clearly, you're not learning.
Oh, that's what he's learning it from. That's
I'm saying even according to the Rabbanon, you're not. Even if you learn law, the idea of being Meshacher half an Eved does exist.
Right. Right. I hear you. I think also somebody asked about Gita so that make a kasha here too.
You're saying how do you have your yad if it's Chatzi ben Cher?
Right. I think so. I think Rashi has some Tosfos. I don't remember. Anyways, let's say this is the machlokes. The Marsav Kesha Adipa. One says to make a hekish is better. The Marsav Gzeira Shava Adipa, and the other one says to make a Gzeira Shava is better. And my answer is like the Kuli Alma Gzeira Shava Adipa. Everybody holds that Gzeira Shava is better. Shani Hacha. Here we could say differently. We could say, well, an Isha, don't compare it to an Isha, because an Isha is different, because you can't divorce a woman with Kesef. The only way to divorce a woman is with Shtar. You can't divorce her with Kesef. But an Eved can go out with Kesef. So therefore, now it's an interesting thing, because since when do you slug up a Gezerah Shava with a Kasha? Right? Normally, Gzeir Shava is written in stone. There's nothing you can't argue on it. Here, the Gemara is doing it, right? So the reason why you can do it because, like Taisa says, because there's a pasuk that seems to say it that way. So since the pasuk says that way, therefore it's you can ask on the Gzeir Shava. Rabbi Yosef Amar, Rabbi Yosef is machlokes bekesef. He says the opposite. The machlokes is by kesef. The Rabbi have to learn if Dasa Paduya Veina Paduya, but it says that she was redeemed, but she wasn't redeemed. She was redeemed means she was redeemed and not redeemed, right? So that means that there's half and half. Rabbanan Sabri Dibra Torah Galasha B'nei Adam. The Rabbanan say you can't because it's the pasuk speaks like Lashem B'nei Adam. Al B'shtar, but by Shtar Divrei Akol like Kana. Everybody holds that you're not koine. So the first sheet that had said that, but at least right now, the first sheet that said that the shtar is koine, or that's a machlokes, but kesef not. And this one's saying kesef yes, and shtar not, according to anybody. So Meisvei is going to ask the kasha. Let's say a guy frees half of his ever with a shtar. Rabbi Omer kana. Rabbi says kind, and the Chum say he wasn't kind. Tiyufta to Rabbi Yosef, Tiyufta. So you see very clearly that he did it with a shtar, and he wasn't kindness. So that slugs up Rabbi Yosef. So then Gemara even goes after Rabbi Yosef even more. Nema a shtar who the pligi. Let's say that the machlokes is even by shtar, but kesef loy pligi, but by kesef there's no argument. Lema tiyufta to Rabbi Yosef betati. So let's say we could slug Rabbi Yosef by both. Meaning the first one is that according to Rebbe, you can be Meshacher and Eved with a shtar, and then the second brisa says that even the Rabbanon say that you can do it with bekesef. So Amar Lach Rabbi Yosef pligi b'shtar v'uadim bekesef. So now we're changing. Rabbi Yosef is saying no. I say that there's a machlokes by shtar, whether you can free half your slave, or then bekesef, and the same machlokes by shtar and bekesef. Okay, so then so why are you having a machlokes by shtar? If you're having a machlokes by shtar, it sounds like that kesef, everybody agrees. Right? So it's coming to tell you the koyach of Rebbe, right? That Rebbe holds that you cannot be b'shachar, you cannot free your slave with kesef. The liflik b'kesef argue by kesef and let them know the koyach of and be the koyach of the rabbanon. Right, so which is more chomer. So we say koyach hetera adivlei. We had this many times. The koyach of hetera is better. It's stronger, right? And since if you're going to go with Rebbe, there's a koyach of hetera, so therefore we'd rather do that. Fine. So now the Gemara goes to a long brisa that tries to prove the new Reb Yosef that the machlokes is by kesef and by shtar. Again, what we're talking about here, it is a little confusing, but what we're talking about here is if there's kesef, if a guy frees his slave, half his slave, does that work? So that's a machlokes Rebbe and the Rabbanon. But does that mean that he's freeing his slave with kesef and with shtar, or just kesef and not shtar, or shtar and not kesef? So we're saying now Rabbi Yosef holds that it's both. That you could do the freeing with both. So Tashma v'hefta, yachal lakol. So you would think that it works for everything, meaning he goes totally free. Right? Again, going back to the shifcha that was married to an Eved Ivri. So again, it says v'hefta, yachal lakol. You would think that she's redeemed for everything. It says she wasn't nifta, right? So if you say that she's not redeemed, so you would think that applies to everything. It says that she is redeemed. Okay, so what's the case? She's redeemed and she's not redeemed, meaning sometimes she's redeemed, sometimes she's not redeemed. Meaning you can free half of her with kesef or anything the equivalent of kesef. Mainly out of kesef. So that we're saying that you can free her halfway. That's only tells you kesef. Shtar minayin. How do you know about shtar? He was not paid to her, and he did not free her. And further it says v'kasav la sefer krisis, and he does write a sefer krisis. So what does that mean? The shtar, just like further. It's a shtar, afkan b'shtar. So to here, he could free the eved with the shtar. So, okay, so now we see that you can free half a eved with kesef and with shtar. Ainly alachetzi b'kesef. That only tells you half the kesef. Oikuloi b'shtar, or the whole thing, meaning you could free the entire eved b'shtar, or half of him with kesef. Chetzi b'shtar minayin. How do you know half with a shtar? Right, mak is shtar the kesef, so we make a hekesh between shtar and kesef. Mak kesef ben kuli ben chetzi, just like kesef can free an eved, half of the eved with whether it's I forgot where I left off. Mak is shtar mak kesef ben kuli ben chetzi, just like kesef does it, whether it's the whole eved or half the eved. Af shtar nami ben kuli ben chetzi, so shtar also will free him whether it's half or whole. So Bishlam and the Rabbi Yosef, so it's good according to Rabbi Yosef, Basadi Taisif. Right? Meaning after he was slugged up, so it makes sense. Money, because who's the brisa here that says that everything works? Rebbe, right? Rebbe again is the one who says that a guy can free half of his eved. So this brisa makes sense according to Rebbe. Elul Rabba, but according to Rabba, Reisha Divrei Akol, the Sefer Rebbe, you have to say that the Reisha is going according to everybody, right? Because the ratio that says that you can free the slave with kesef, half the slave with kesef, goes according to the sefer, and the sefer, which is only with shtar, that has to be Rebbe. So how could it be that the ratio is going according to both Rebbe and the Rabbanon, and the sefer is going according to Rebbe? So Amalach Rabbah in ratio to Rebbe, I call the sefer Rebbe. Yes, the ratio is going according to everybody, and the sefer is according to Rebbe. Rav Ashi Amar, Rav Ashi says Rebbe the thing is Rebbe. Right? So it didn't have any reason to say anything. It was Rebbe everything. So it says if that's the case, so now what are you going to do with our Mishnah that says a guy is a Chatzi Evan, Chatzi Ben Chayrin? So Bishlam al Rabba, it's good according to Rabba, Mukim La Bekesef Divrei Akol. So our Mishnah is talking about where the Eved was redeemed with money. It's going according to everybody. Allah Rabbi Yosef, Lema Rebbe, Hivala Rabbanim. But according to Rabbi Yosef, you're gonna have to say that it's Rebbe and not the Rabbanim. So Ravina on Taman Aleph now. Ravina, Eved shall shnei shutvin v'divrei akol. Meaning, for some reason, the Gemara's Havamina was that the Mishnah is talking about one owner. I'm not sure why the Gemara. We didn't learn that in the beginning. The Mishnah is one owner, so that's why we have to figure out whether it's Rebbe or the Rabbanon. Now the Gemara is saying no, it's talking about it was two owners. It's going according to everybody because everybody holds that if an Eved has two owners, then each one can free. One can free, and the other one doesn't have to free. Right? Our Gemara's whole machlokes is if one owner frees half the slave, whether that works. But when it's two owners, for sure it works. Either way, I know it's a little late. I'm reading it a little fast because the drushes are very confusing to me. So basically, just what we have to come out from this Amid Beis is that it's a machlokes, Rebbe and the Rabbanon, whether you could free your own slave. A guy has full ownership of a slave. Can he free half of him or not? That is, you didn't put the break in the green. So anyway, so the Rebbe and the Rabbanon have a machlokes whether you could free half of your own slave or not, and within that machlokes, it depends on whether it's kesef or whether it's shtar. All right, fine. Sorry for all the lack of clarity or lack of service, and everybody should have themselves